What's going on, guys? It's Brent from Team Draw Better, and today we are back with another deck profile, one that I'm really excited for to show you guys. We are building Fiendsmith Chimera. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say thank you guys so much for 100 subscribers. Like, I couldn't have done this without you guys, and the fact that you, tune in to all these videos, whether it's a deck profile, test hands, it means the world to me. So thank you guys so much for your time. But without further ado, we're going to jump into this deck profile. So first things first, we play 3 copies of Gazelle. Now, the ratios for the Chimera cards are essentially the same from my last Chimera deck profile, because we play 3 Gazelle, and I'll just describe the card effects a little vaguely, but if this is normal or special summon, you can add a level 5 Fiend or Chimera Fusion from deck to hand, and then if it's sent to grave as material for a fusion summon, you can add 1 illusion monster from deck to hand. Next, 2 Big Wing Baphomet. Baphomet's effects are when it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 level 4 beast monster and or Chimera Fusion from deck to hand, and you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except fusion monsters. So if you do use Baphomet's summon effect, you are fusion locked for the rest of the turn. And then if this is sent to the graveyard as material for a fusion summon, you can target 1 illusion in your grave, special summon it, and you can only use each effect of Baphomet once per turn. So then we move on to 3 copies of Codal. You can discard this card and add anything that mentions Chimera Fusion. And when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a card you control while you control Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast, quick effect, you can banish this card from your field or grave, negate the effect, and destroy that card. Next, we play 3 Sword Knight. So, Sword Knight's effects. Quick effect, you can tribute this card, special summon 1 monster from your deck that mentions Chimera Fusion except itself, and when a monster your opponent controls activates its effect while you control Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast, quick effect, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard and negate that effect. Next, we play 3 Apprentice. Apprentice is just another really good illusion card, because when you can special summon this card from your hand by discarding 1 card, and you can only special 1 Nightmare Apprentice per turn this way. And if this card battles a monster, just like every illusion, neither can be destroyed by that battle. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 illusion monster from deck to hand except Nightmare Apprentice. Next, we have a couple one-off illusions. We play 1 Diabelle's. Diabelle's is essentially like a anti-spell fragrance, because number 1, if a Sinful Spoils card is in either player's graveyard, you can special summon this from your hand, and you can only do that once per turn. Your opponent must set spell or trap cards before activating them, and if a spell or trap becomes set on the field while this is in the monster zone, you can target 1 card you control and 1 card your opponent controls and destroy them. So again, anti-spell, another really good illusion monster. Another one-off illusion to help with consistency, we play 1 Master Tau. When Master Tau is sent to the graveyard, you can target an illusion in your graveyard except Master Tau and special it in defense. And for the rest of the turn, you are locked into summoning from the grave illusion monsters only. Next, play 2 Edge and Chain. We still do run the Patchwork engine. In my opinion, it's too good not to have. When this card declares an attack, you can add 1 Edge and Chain from your deck to your hand, and if this card is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Frightfur card from deck to hand, and you can only use 1 effect per turn and only once that turn. So again, part of the Frightfur or the Patchwork engine, just for helping get out all the fusion monsters. Next, we're going to be moving on to the Fiendsmith engine. So we play 2 Engraver. Engraver's effects, you can discard this card and add a Fiendsmith spell or trap from deck to hand, and you can target 1 Fiendsmith equip card you control and 1 monster on the field, and you can send them to the grave. And if this card is in your grave, you can shuffle one other light fiend monster from your grave into the deck or extra deck and summon this card. So the Fiendsmith engine, really good for Chimera because so much synergy. You know, there's fiends and beasts and illusions and whatnot, but like it's the fiends that really matter here for this engine. Next, we play one Lacrima, Crimson Tears. Lacrima is just, again, to help the Fiendsmith engine thrive a little bit, because if this is normal or special summon, you can send one Fiendsmith card from deck to grave, except Lacrima. During your opponent's turn, if this is in your grave, you can target a Fiendsmith Link monster in your grave, shuffle this card into the deck, and if you do, special that Link monster. So every time you summon Lacrima, you're going to be dumping Fiendsmith and Graver. Pretty self-explanatory. And then again for the Fiendsmith engine, we're playing one Fabled Lori. Lori, you're always going to add and then discard off of Tract in order to go into your Fiendsmith Requiem, because it is a light fiend. So then an easier way to bridge the gap between Fiendsmith and the Chimera engine, we play one Evil Hero, Sinister Necrom. Now, his effects, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one Evil Hero monster from your hand or deck except itself, and you can only use this effect once per turn. And the Evil Hero that we are always special summoning is Adjusted Gold. So Adjusted Gold, you can discard this card and add Dark Fusion or one card that mentions it from deck to hand. And you can only use this effect once per turn, and you cannot attack unless you control a fusion monster. So the way this bridges the Fiendsmith and the Chimera engine is because when you go into your Chimera plays, you go into your fusion, your Baphomet fusion, you dump Sinister Necrom, you use Sinister Necrom's effect, banishing itself, summon Adjusted Gold, and then you immediately link Adjusted Gold off into Requiem. So really easy way to bridge the gap between these two engines. So it's really consistent and it's really powerful. So that's it for the monsters. So we're going to move on to the spells next. So for the spells, we're running 3 Chimera Fusion. Again, not many ratios for the Chimera engine have changed compared to my last build too much, but Chimera Fusion's effect, during the main phase, you can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck by using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a beast or fiend monster. And during your main phase, if this is in your graveyard and you have Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast on your field or in your graveyard, you can activate one of these effects, add this card to your hand, or banish this card, and if you do, special summon both Gazelle, the King of Mythical Beasts, and one Baphomet from your deck or grave. Now, and you can only use this effect once per turn. So, the second effect of Chimera Fusion, we don't care about banishing it and summoning, because you never play those vanilla monsters, never. You only ever care about adding it back to your hand. But, you know, staple of the deck, obviously, this card is broken because it's not, the fusion effect is not once per turn. The add back from grave is the only once per turn on this card. Next, we are playing the Patchwork engine, so we are playing 3 Frightfur Patchwork, excuse me. You can add one Egypt monster and one Polymerization from deck to hand, and you can only do this once per turn. We play 2 Poly for the Patchwork. We play 1 Fiendsmith Tract. I know this says Sanct. It's meant to be a Tract. Please do not put in a Tract or Sanct if you are copying this build. Yet another card that I am waiting for in the mail. But yeah, Fiendsmith Tract. Tract's effect, you can add 1 Light Fiend from your deck to hand and then discard a card. So the card you're always going to be discarding is the Fabled Lori, which then will trigger its effect to special summon, and then you can go into Requiem and all that. We play 1 Dark Fusion for the Evil Heroes. Now you can fusion summon 1 Fiend monster from your extra deck using monsters from hand or field as fusion material, and your opponent cannot target it with card effects this turn. So that's another really good effect with this. Relatively easy to get because of the Evil Heroes. And then the last 3 cards, we play 2 talents just to like essentially break boards or look at our opponent's hand, or draw 2 if we just want more value, and then we play 1 called by to help our plays go through. But that's it for the spells. And as for the trap cards, aside from Imperm, I only play 1. We play 1 Angel Statue because we do run Silhouette Rabbit in the extra deck, so that's just for Silhouette Rabbit. For negating any inherent summons as soon as it specials into the monster zone. Really good card. Speaking of hand traps, we do play a few, not as many as all these other decks are playing, but we are striving for consistency, so we just play 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Nibiru, and 3 Imperm. Now, you can tweak this how you see fit. Like, you can take out, like, talents and the called by in the deck and replace them with more hand traps. That's totally up to you. This is just my build, and I think it's pretty decent because it's hyper consistent. Like, this deck is essentially straight gas. All right, so that's it for the hand traps. Now onto the extra deck. We're going to start with the Link monsters. We're playing 1 Fiendsmith Requiem. And Requiem's effect, you can only special a Requiem once per turn, and during the main phase quick effect, you contribute this card. Special 1 Fiendsmith monster from your hand or deck. And second effect, you can target 1 non-link fiend monster you control. Equip this card from field or grave to that monster you control as an equipped spell that gives it 600 attack. So with Requiem, you're always going to be summoning out Engraver or Lacrima in order to get your Fiendsmith engine rolling. So that's a Requiem. We play 1 Fiendsmith sequence. This is just to help us fuse into the Fiendsmith Desiree. Next, we play Silhouette Rabbit. Silhouette Rabbit is just good with the Chimera engine because it's an illusion. It can't be used as link material the turn it was summoned, but you can fuse with it because it is an illusion. So if you have, say, Gazelle or Baphomet in your hand, you can fuse with Silhouette Rabbit because it's an illusion monster and you can go into the fusion Baphomet. So I think it's essential for this because it's just a really good card, especially with Angel Statue. So then we play 1 SP. SP's SP. It's too good not to have. Next, moving on to the fusions, we play 1 Chimera King of Phantom Beasts. We just have this just as something to go into, and the hand rip is always nice. So we play this at 1. We play 2 Baphomet fusions. Baphomet fusion is what really seals the deal with both of these engines because you can dump an evil hero, you can dump you can dump a Sword Knight or a Kodal for additional protection, or you can dump an Engraver if you already have like everything set up, because you can dump 1 Beast, Fiend, or Illusion monster, and Engraver is a Fiend, and Lacrima. Next, we play 1 Chimera the Illusion Beast just for the OTK. We play 1 Magnum just to help clear out some boards and fix our hands if need be because of the draw. 1 Guardian Chimera to break boards. 1 Fiendsmith Desiree. Now Desiree, this is just to add on to your end board because you can negate cards up to the number of total link ratings equipped to this card. So you're always going to want to have Sequence equipped to this, as well as Requiem if possible, just so you get as many negates with this as possible. I was going to add Fiendsmith Agnum Day, but I'm trying to keep both engines balanced. So otherwise that would be in here because then you could have like 5 negates with Desiree. We play 1 Necroquip just as another level 6 because you can summon Engraver and then equip Requiem to it, and then contact fuse those off for Necroquip. Really good for the Fiendsmith engine. And then 1 Aerial Eater. Aerial Eater is to, again, bridge the gap between the Chimera and the Fiendsmith, because when it's fusion summoned, you can send 1 Fiend monster from deck to grave. So you can either send, again, you can send the Engraver, or you can send, for example, you can send the Sinister Necrom as well in order to go into it that way. And then if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 2 level 6 or higher Fiend monsters with the same attribute as each other from your graveyard, except Aerial Eater, and special summon this card. And then that's it for the fusions. So I play one Xyz monsters, pretty obvious which one it is. It's going to be High Wave King Caesar because of the Fiendsmith. When a spell or trap or monster effect is activated that includes an effect that special summons a monster, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And then you can make one other DD monster you control, and this card gain 1800 attack, but we don't care about that. And if this is sent from field to grave, you can add Dark Contract. We don't play that, so we only care about the negate. And last but not least, for the extra deck, we play one Synchro monster, and it's Chaos Angel, because we can always make that with our Nightmare Apprentice and our Mirror Sword Knight, so that we gain both of its effects, or we can either make it with the Sword Knight and an Engraver, just for the light. But yeah, Chaos Angel is really easy to summon, so I thought it would be a pretty nice addition again. So that's it for the extra deck, and last but not least, we are going to move on to the side deck. Side deck I tried to keep interesting this time around because of the current meta shift and all that. So we're playing one Archfiend Harris. Now, this is another card that you can summon, or sorry, not summon, send off of the Baphomet fusion, because when this is sent to the grave because of a card effect or being destroyed by a battle, you can add one Archfiend card from your deck to your hand. And the one that we're always going to add off of that is going to be Simmel Archfiends. Now, when you activate Simmel Archfiends, this turn, neither player can special summon monsters with the same card type, Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link they already control. So, for example, if you're playing against Malice, and, for example, they go into Red Ransom, if you flip this card when they have Red Ransom on board, they can no longer Link summon for the rest of the turn. So that essentially turns off their entire game plan because they can't summon. Same thing with Ryziel. If they summon out a Detonator and you flip this card, that's it. That's all they're going to do. That's the equivalent of flipping D-Barrier against Ryziel. So really strong card this format against Ryziel and Malice and other decks because like it just turns off their whole game plan. Next, speaking of Malice, we play 3 Artifact Lancia. Lancia is just to stop all the banishing from happening this format. Malice is a really strong deck, so this is a good way to shut it down because during your opponent's turn, if this is set in the spell and trap zone, if this is destroyed and set into the graveyard, you can special summon it, but that's not the main thing we care about. Main thing we care about is during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you contribute this card from your hand or face up field. Neither player can banish cards for the rest of the turn. So really strong against Malice. Highly recommend running this as a sideboard option because you're going to see Shifter a lot more. You're going to see banishing. So just really good hand trap this format. And then we play the 3rd copy of Nib, just in case we really want to break our opponent's board. We play one End of Anubis, another card to dump off of the Baphomet fusion, another graveyard focused card just because I like to keep the balance. You know, Ubel is sort of falling off, but I still see a couple here and there at my locals. And End of Anubis effect, when this card is face up on the field, all cards and effects that target a card in the graveyard or activate in the graveyard are negated. So it just turns off the graveyard. And you do have to be careful with this because this does shut down both your Sword Knight and your Codal Negate. So just make sure you be careful with this card. Next, we do play the same time card. Really underrated for Chimera, I think, but we play Fiend Reflection of the Millennium. I had this in my last profile. I really love this card because it's a searchable time card for Chimera, and we love that. So, if this card is in your hand, you can place it in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. And if your opponent activates a card or effect while this card is a continuous spell, you can special summon this card, and then you gain life points equal to the attack of half of one monster on the field. So this is really nice because it's an illusion. You can search it off of Apprentice, Gazelle when they're fused, or just, yeah. Really good card because it's searchable. Next, for back row removal, we play one Feather Duster and 2 Lightning Storm. Again, just for some back row removal or to blow up some monsters. Next, we play triple copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is really good this format, especially with all of our targets. We can grab, say, Feather Duster, Lightning Storm. If we can't dump Harris, we can grab Archfiends off of Thrust. We can grab, just as other examples, we can grab Talent, we can grab Dark Fusion, we can grab a Polymerization, Patchwork. So we have plenty of Thrust targets. That's why I run it at 3. It's a really good card in this deck. Really solid. And last but not least, essential for breaking boards, we play 1 Ultimate Slayer to search off a Thrust. We play a variety of different cards in our extra deck, so Ultimate Slayer is definitely an option. You don't always want to get rid of them, but if your opponent has a monster that is really annoying to deal with, then this is the way to go, because your opponent can't activate monster effects in response to this activation, and you send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, and then you target 1 monster your opponent controls with the same type, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, Pendulum, or Link, and shuffle it back into the deck. So if they have a Detonator, if they have, say, a pesky Malice monster, you can just activate Ultimate Slayer, pitch whatever Link or Xyz. Well, we only have 1 Xyz, so whatever Link you want to send, or send the Caesar if you're really desperate. You know, Ultimate Slayer is the way to go. But that is going to do it for this deck profile, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. I cannot stress enough how awesome it is, to be honest, because it's both really strong engines. There's actually a total of 3 engines in this deck. It's the Patchwork, Chimera, and Fiendsmith. So this deck is awesome. It's really consistent, really strong. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts about this deck profile down in the comments below. And let me know if you want some test hands on this, because I am more than happy to do that. But thank you guys so much again for 100 subscribers. It means the world to me. It really does. That's part of the reason why I do this. I'm trying to help everyone out, share my love of this card game. And yeah, I couldn't do this without you guys. So I really appreciate it. But if you enjoyed, you know the drill. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you later.